All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm Mike Twitty, your Pinellas County Property Appraiser. Happy to welcome those in person that came in. I see several realtors in the house, um, and retiree investors in the house, and um, so that's exciting. Obviously, the site caters to both not only individual homeowners, but also to industry professionals that tap the site on a daily basis. That's various real estate disciplines, including the construction profession, but obviously real estate sales, title, law, lending, all those types of disciplines touch our site on a daily basis. There are heavy recurring users. A lot of owners only go in the site, maybe once or twice a year, unless they're a super sleuth and they want to know what's going on with their neighbors. So that's the site gets some heavy use in that regard as well. But welcome you in. Many of you have, had the pleasure of using the pcpao.org site for many, many years. That ran for almost 30 years, but it was an old frame-based architecture that was outdated, and we put as many bells and whistles into it and tried to keep it alive as long as we could. But we're at that point now in order to better serve, um, industry pros and our citizens. We really needed to upgrade, so that required a whole rebuild of the site. So what we did is we didn't want to lose any of the great features that were in the old site, and we wanted to not move the cheese very far wherever possible so that people could still find what they're looking for, but try and increase the user friendliness, put in more power tools for people. And I'm going to show you a bunch of those today and try to pull back any fear factor that those that might have that are getting ready to transition over. For we will be sunsetting the .org site, and everybody will ultimately, if you have a bookmark to pcpao.org, it's going to end up redirecting to .gov. So that is where the new site lives. You can obviously drive it now. We've been running them both in parallel for about a year, and polishing off any little rough edges, getting feedback, doing some fine tuning. So you will see a countdown pop up on the .org site here, hopefully within the next week, and we'll give you about a 2-week countdown towards that full migration over to .gov. So with that said, I've got Kyle in the back. He's our engineer of the day back there. He is wired for sound as well for our users online. And if anybody has any chat questions, he'll be monitoring those, and he'll read those out so that you can make sure to hear them within the room as well. And if anybody asks questions within the room, we'll try to repeat those if people can't hear those online. So let's get started. The site is fully mobile friendly, responsive. So if anybody is, sitting in the room or online, feel free to play with it on your phone or your tablet or your desktop, whichever, as we go through here. And that way it may prompt some questions as you play with it. But you can see the way it's designed now is when it comes up, the search is front and center. So you don't even have to, you could obviously come over here and drop down from the top drop down and start to execute your search there. But there's really no need to, because you have this search box front and center. You can choose whether you want address, owner, parcel ID, or sub-condo name search. You can also, for the first time, search tangible personal property. So that's basically your business accounts. So if you're searching for, if you have a restaurant, or if it's Publix, or any type of business, and they have furniture, fixtures, and equipment that exceed the $25,000 exemption amount, then those can be searched there, and that gives some tangible account history. So that's a nice new feature there as well. So this is what we call the quick search right here out of the gate. You also have your map search that jumps you straight into your big map that you're used to using on the old site, but it has more features in it now. And then we have our advanced search, and we'll get on that near the end of the presentation today. Another thing that we've included, we've never had before. So if you have location enabled services turned on your mobile device, and you hit that My Location button, and unfortunately I'm on a laptop, So this isn't the best way to present this, but when you do hit it, what it'll do is it'll bring up a short list of the parcels you're standing nearest. So for example, if you're a realtor or a contractor and you pull up in somebody's driveway and you touch that button, it's going to pull the parcel detail up for that property that you're on. So you don't have to enter anything, and you can verify that, oh, the renter that called me to do work on this house, is not the owner. So we might need to talk to the owner as well. Those types of things. I know that people use the site for. That's just one example. So I encourage you to play with that. So if you're sitting in your house right now on your phone or in your office, touch that My Location button, see what you get for a result. Hit that off the list, and boom, it should take you right into the parcel detail page. So let's jump down the page here. I want to get this off the screen. This is basically just showing you how it jumps straight into a parcel detail page. We're going to go through the whole parcel detail page, but I want to do the home page first. So I'm going to jump back. You'll always have fresh announcements up here at the top. You've got a carousel here with information. Obviously, that's always scrolling. We change that out for whatever is relevant at the time, but you can register for upcoming public education sessions, such as the one we're in today. Next month will be about the trim notice. So that'll be the notice of proposed property taxes. So our Deputy of Assessment Administration will be leading that talk and breaking down the trim notice that people get in the third week of August, so they can better understand, make sure they have the exemptions that they're entitled to, and that their value is in line, those types of things. They can see where it is year over year and get an idea of what their proposed taxes are going to be for 2023. You also have speed buttons over here. These two right here are really great handout type items for realtors. Takes you into the information, but then gives you access to a nice PDF that you can kick out, that you can provide to your buyers and sellers. The tax estimator, a lot of people have gotten familiar with that. We get in the neighborhood of 10 to 11,000 runs of the tax estimator every month. So I know our realtors and lenders use that extensively, and our title agents, to give our new buyers a better picture of what they're going to look at after their cap resets when they cross that first January 1. When you buy from a longtime homesteader, maybe 20 years plus, they're paying a significantly lower amount because of their time in that house and the protection from the Save Our Homes cap. And many of our out-of-state buyers that come in to Pinellas, or I should say into the state of Florida in general, because it's statewide, if they come from most other states in the union, most of them do not have any sort of homestead assessment cap protection. There's only about a handful that do, and it's still generally not as favorable as Florida's. So very important for our new buyers to get educated on that process, so that tax estimator helps them in that process. Another speed button, you can jump right into e-filing for homestead exemption. You can check the status. We have a lot of people call in to check their status for homestead. They can check it right there online. As soon as it gets approved, it'll show whether it's pending, and then when it actually gets approved will show up. You can change mailing addresses and obviously jump into more tangible personal property detail. We've got real-time stats here with all our parcel counts broken down, as well as our housing unit counts, which a lot of people find interesting. We hope to make this. We just scrolled down the homepage. That's all. We hope to make that section more interactive in the future, where you can drive the statistics. You can basically query the statistics that you want to see. We may build some business intelligent dashboards into that, where you'll be able to click slicers and analyze the information. But that's phase 2. So we got to get it stood up first. Down here, you can sign up for our e-newsletters. So we offer 3 different monthly e-newsletters. There's one for homeowners, one for real estate professionals, and one for business owners. So those are delivered mostly on a monthly basis. The business one, sometimes we'll skip a month or two because there might not be as relevant updates. But we try to have very timely information in there. that's a very quick read for you all. It's just an easy newsletter that you can jump through, but it lets you know important information that might be relevant for you and your property at that time of year. You've got archives here for different articles and publications related to what's been going on with our office. Also might relate to some legislative matters as well in the ad valorem space. And then obviously all our contact information. These are now, if you click on any of these, it's going to give you a Google map to the location, all those types of things to make the site that much more friendly and usable. All our contact us information is right here. You can actually schedule one of our staff or myself to be a speaker at an event. You can also join our newsletters here. Obviously, social media. Seems like everybody needs to be on it these days. So we've got a
We do have a question.
yes.
It says, on quick search subcondo, how do you search for a single unit? In .org, there was a blank space for the unit on the quick search.
Right. If you're searching for an individual unit, just use the address search and you can start to type it. I'm not sure that you can put the I don't think you can put the unit in subcondo. Well, maybe you can. Let's go. Yeah, so you can start to type it and then pick it off the list. But you can also do that with the street address. I don't know it's going to jump to it, but you can see it right there. So there's still obviously some tweaks that we will work in, but the subcondo is really designed not so much to get you to the unit as much as it is to get you to the root of the project. So here we are on the common area parcel for this condominium, and then you can click on the building footprint. Well, we got to jump to the large map. And you get a full list of all the units. So you can either scroll through them here. You can see here 8 of 117, or you can hit this list button at the top, bring you back to the list that you can scroll through. The whole list, you can, but not out of the map. So there's a spot for that as well. Correct. Yeah, you don't have to jump out. Now for that feature, you do, to see the list of the individual units, because you're only going to get the common area parcel back here. But you do have these interactive tools. You can turn on sales layers. Obviously, there's a lot right there. So that's all public records. Yes. You've got measure tools here, so you can measure square footage or acreage or distance. So you can do a perimeter. So if you wanted to measure some land area, if you wanted to measure a setback, all those types of things, you can use the measure tools. The large map is where you'll want to jump out to if you want to do a bunch of fine grain things on the map. We just baked in a few of the big map tools here on the parcel detail page. So while we're on this, that works out well because we were basically done with the home page. So the only other thing I didn't point out is obviously you also have the YouTube channel up here. So we have a YouTube channel where you can go and you can get pre-recorded public education sessions, as well as other website help tips and other videos that we might post on different information.
So going off with the condos, they said with condos of 250 to 300 units, going through a list is too long. I've still been using the old site for that reason.
Okay. Well, the easiest way to do that right now is to put the building address in, followed by the unit number. So let's look at, for example, so 1170. So if I went 1170 Gulf Boulevard and then put a unit number after it, should be giving me a hit. What's that? No, you shouldn't have to. And you shouldn't have, we've changed it to where you don't have to type the word unit or the pound symbol or, because you used to have to type it perfect, pound space, and we've changed some of that. But I will tell you, both our vendor and our in-house team are literally working on the site right now. So they might have broke something on me too. Because we are right in the midst of trying to fine tune some of these things. And some of it's being done in development and then pushed over. Um, yeah, so we do have to fix something there. And we'll make the subcondo work that way too, where you can add the unit number right after the condo name. Right, so let's get back to our detail page. Let's get let's get on a single family. So I'm going to jump into the parcel detail page because this is what most people are familiar with. When you pull the parcel detail, the map has now come up from the bottom to the top right so that you actually know you're looking at the right house or the right property more rapidly. You have a summary on the left. This shows you obviously, your short legal, your current tax district. This is something that we have in here now where you can actually see the current tax district, which could be different than the tax district from last year if something has been annexed in. So if you were an unincorporated Pinellas last year and were then annexed into the city of Largo, you might see two different things. So that current is always in real time based on the information that we have from the jurisdiction. You get a summary here that rolls up. So if this were, say it was a small apartment building and it had multiple units and multiple buildings, you would see the aggregated count of the living units and the building units would show there and the living and gross square footage. Before you used to have to go down and literally add up from each building to get those numbers. And obviously you can still go down and see the specific, and you have jump links right here. So if I want to jump down to the building info, it jumps me right down to it. But if that were multi-parcel, you'd see, or multi-building, you'd see building 1, building 2, and you'd literally have to go through, grab the square footage, add them all up. We've done that for you now. That's all aggregated at the top in that summary on the parcel. The general flow of the parcel detail page is basically exactly the same. The exemptions, the miscellaneous parcel, the prelim value, the value history, all that flow is the same. The only thing we've done is actually added some additional detail. So now in your sale history, you have a grantor and grantee information. We didn't used to have that in there. You would have to technically go to the deed and look at it. Obviously, you have your OR book and page links here to jump to the deeds. Any of these can be sorted, so you can click on any of these and it'll flip your sort order. All these dark blue bars where you see this little caret on the right, those are collapsible. So you'll see those throughout the site in different areas where you can open or contract or collapse things. Here's your land information. We've also included gross land area over here in the corner because a lot of times you'll run into this where This one happens to have land dimensions, but you might get irregular parcels too, and there may not be good land dimensions for that because it's not a rectangle or a square. So this particular property is being valued, its land is being valued on a front foot basis. So that's 75 front feet. So you don't see a square footage or an acreage. However, we now show that up here. So on occasion, you're going to see if we show square foot as the method down here, right now, because the data is coming from two sources, this one is appraiser entered, whereas this up here is coming straight from our GIS, from the literal polygons of the shape files on our maps. So there could be some slight differences there. Plus, the appraiser may be only considering the usable upland of a site, whereas the other figure will reflect gross area, which could be uplands and lowlands. So just little nuances there. Your extra features, same place. Your sketch is in the same place, but you can do other things with the sketch now too. So you can click on it, blow it up. You can zoom in, zoom out, and you can print just the sketch in a larger format if you would like. Permit data still down at the bottom like it always was. You've got these, so if you had a lot of permit activity and you wanted to see it all in one shot rather than on multiple pages, you can change these. Again, you have the links. We've spent a lot of time with our team to update those permit links to make those more accurate. We take you as far as the jurisdiction will let us go. So we try to take you all the way down to that specific permit, but we've got 24 different municipalities plus unincorporated county. So we can't always do that. There are some that have systems that only allow us to get you kind of to the front door and won't let us pass information all the way through. So again, we take you as far as we can, they'll allow us to go. So as you can see, you have another My Location feature here. So if you're in the field on a mobile device, you can click that on and it'll give you the blue location dot and show you exactly where you are. So if you were driving a neighborhood, you could turn that on with the parcel detail page on and see which house you're in front of, and then you could touch on that house and pull the parcel information. That works in the large map as well. Does the same thing. Obviously, it's a little easier to do in the large map. And your map styles. So we give you the last 2 years of aerials. So we're on the 2023s right now. There's the 2022s. But then you can go to a cleaner, non-filled map. You can look at the countywide land use. You've got a FEMA flood map. Obviously, this is not in the special flood hazard area here, so you're not seeing a color change. We zoom out, get a little closer to the coast, you'll start to see the flood map kicking in. And the other map, you also have evacuation zones are on here, and then you have a filled map, is what we call it. So it just gives you different ways to visualize the map. And you can always print those out on the large map button. I forgot to talk about our quick pick toolbox over here. So the old site, remember, had buried links throughout the detailed page. A lot of people didn't even know they were there. If you wanted the trim notice or you wanted to check the taxes, or there were just little links buried all over the place. We tried to take the most common features and put them all in one spot. So they're much easier to access. So you've got your print, email, a custom report tool, which is brand new. So if you just wanted the detail page, you can just hit the print button. If you want a custom report, now you can build a custom PDF that you can then download, email, print. So if I wanted, the property detail and the latest deed and a large aerial, I can pick any of these things. The latest trim notice, the FEMA 50% letter, all that stuff is there. And it'll check for an elevation certificate if one happens to be on file. So you can create that. You do need to make sure your pop-up blocker is not on, because if it's on, it's going to block that custom report from coming up. And we have a little message on there showing that. and that's what it did. It blocked it. I don't use this laptop that much. There you get your report. This is something we are fixing with the deeds because, I don't know, when was this last deed? Yeah, because that should have pulled the deed, and we have it fixed in our development version, but it hasn't been pushed into .gov. So the deed will appear right after it. And you can see, you can jump straight into the tax estimator. Obviously, you can jump to that large map that we showed you. You've got the property record card, and you have comparable sales. This is a new feature, replaces the old sales query that used to be there by the comparable sales value, which that literally gave you a dump of about 5 years of sales of, say you were looking for comps for an office building and you dump that, you might get office buildings from 500 square feet to 50,000 square feet. It didn't filter anything in any way. So what we did is try to build a smarter tool for users. So this applies some default parameters. When you click that, it's smart enough to grab, okay, so that was my subject property. It's an 0110, which is single family use code. If you wanted to add additional use codes, you can type them in here and add them on. So if I wanted, if I start to type single family, 08110 is also a single family code, but that has more than one house on a single parcel. So I could actually add that in if I wanted or take it out. So this is built more so for if you want to put commercial properties into it. Because like if you pick an office building, there's a lot of different office use codes. So you might want to pick more than one. So we didn't limit it to just a single property type. It's smart enough to know, okay, this is not a waterfront home and it doesn't have a pool. We're going to look for qualified sales. We're looking for the stuff within the sales within the last 12 months, plus or minus 15% of the subject's living area, plus or minus 15 years from its year built, within a 1 mile radius. So that's your starting default. And then obviously you can change that to your heart's desire. But just coming down here, you can see just on that house within the last year, there's actually 44 sales that met that criteria. So a lot of information there. We can skinny that up so we can go half mile. Let's go ahead and take that down to roughly the last 6 months. Hit search again. Now we're down to 10 that fall within that. So, and it brings them back in sort order by distance from the subject. Subject property will always stay up here on the top line. And then you can sort, if I wanted to sort actually by sale date, you can do that. So any of these headings will resort the data. If you wanted to look by price per square, obviously the subject is not going to change because that's your fixed one. So that one's going to stay. But you can see here, we've got incremental sorted by rising price per square. Mm-hmm. It is. It is. Now you can do it, you can limit by subdivision. So if you just wanted to look within a specific sub, you can do that, or you can do zip code. So you can tailor it pretty well. So we just want, this was designed mostly for single family or in condominium, but mostly for residential properties where people just wanted to get a quick data set and you didn't have to think too hard to get it out of there and not get this giant Excel spreadsheet full of data. Right. And then obviously, you can select your comps here. You can pick them all if you want. And then you have the option to print that out and it'll build a summary table at the front, at the top with that list, then followed by the detail for each one in that sort order. And then if you wanted to export it, it's going to export that summary into an Excel file. And then if you really want to go deep on data and fields, you really want to use the advanced search because that's where you can customize to your heart's desire, get any types of, you can filter on many fields and you can export the data fields that you may want. And that's where you're going to get your mailing lists and those types of things. Yes. Yes, in the advanced. Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump back over to the quick pick tool and just finish up what's in here. So a new owner or somebody, ready to apply for homestead or other exemptions can do so, start that process right through here on their parcel. They can check their status here as well. So you can see, you're seeing some recurring themes. You can do many things on this site a lot of different ways. So there's some repetitiveness built in there where you can drive it from the map, you can drive it from the parcel detail, you can drive it from the home page. We tried to build that so people will find their way there. You can get the most recent trim notice, the link to the tax bills, change your mailing address here. And this is a great feature for especially realtors and property owners. So if you've done work to a home, or say you're getting ready to list a home and you notice that, wait, they have more square footage than Mike might have on the property appraiser site. Um, Imagine that. Right, right. And maybe or maybe not, there's a permit, you know. So but if you're getting ready to sell it, you probably want to get it accurate. So that's a spot where if you're on the parcel, click that. You can submit that request to us. It captures the parcel ID, and we will send an appraiser out to inspect the property. They'll reach out to you, or whoever submits that, and they can arrange to come out, remeasure, look at it, and make sure that that work is, they'll assess the quality level. So say it's an enclosed porch, and they're claiming that it's AC'd and it should be included in the base, but we're looking at it and all the AC is only coming from where they took off the sliding glass doors in the adjacent. That's not base. That doesn't meet the same quality level. So we'll make those determinations when we come out to the property. Um, yeah, so they're already under contract and they're in their due diligence time frame. Yes, it could happen then. It could really happen at any point in time. It's just that usually if you're a seller, you're going to want that corrected before you take it to market. Yes. Yes. Right. 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 Yes. So
Question I think too was, what's the time frame once you submit the report?
it depends on what's on the appraiser's plate within that area. But generally they can come out within a few days. Sometimes it's, next day, get them in the morning, you might get lucky. They're already in the field, going to be in the field in that area. So they're very responsive, to those requests because we want to get our data as accurate as we can as well, because that way when that sells, then we've got good quality call, condition call for that next sale, which then helps our comparable data when we're setting assessments on other properties. Hmm. We've run across those. We're not a catalyst for that process, so we're not turning anybody into the building department, and every building department is different as far as um, what they're going to require and how heavy-handed they might be on if they want a removal of that built-out space. But we're going to call it like we see it from a valuation standpoint. It may or may not contribute in value. Obviously, it's not insurable, so that usually diminishes its value right there. But we're gonna, if it's there, we're gonna put it on the roll, but we're not going to put it. It's not going to become base square footage. right? Hmm. Correct, correct. And another thing, when you're getting ready to sell a property, and if they've just done interior updates, things like that, replaced appliances, countertops, those types of things, it's important to let us know that, because then we can adjust the just value, which doesn't hurt. If they're a homesteader, they're still protected by their Save Our Homes cap. All that really does is give them more portability. So what we hear about from a lot of people is they never let us know those things. We don't get inside unless they invite us in. Um, and we don't necessarily know all those things were done until after the sale. And now they no longer own the property, and now they want us to adjust the just value. Well, that might harm the new buyer, um, and they don't even own the property anymore, so they can't really make that argument. So it's better to do that at the front end. Correct. Yes, I'm sorry. So we've had a couple of questions there, and I should have repeated those, but have been about, built out lower living areas that are below base flood elevation. Obviously, those are not legal, and they're not insurable. So because they're not FEMA compliant. So in those case, but per statute, the property appraiser is just supposed to call value wherever we see it. So if we do see improvements in those areas, that we will put them on, but we'll call them um, lower area finished or something to that regard. Um, and they might be considered in the taxable value. However, they're not going to carry near as much weight because we know they're not insurable, and we won't add them to the living area for the property. No, no. I mean, they use our site and they look at our site, so they always have the ability to, want to come inspect, just to make things are compliant. Right, right, right. That's right. All right. So other things on here, speaking of FEMA, and you have your FEMA letter down here. So you can that's another thing you can have kick out in the custom report, or you can pull it up individually. Here's another way to get mailing labels for a property. So you can click that radius search button, and it will run with within a certain radius of the property. So you can bring it out by site address or mailing address, and then you can pick what you want for your output. Now, the more detailed one, where if you want to mail an entire subdivision, it's not based on a radius, then that's when you want to use the advanced search, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes. All right, so did we cover most of the detail page here? We did put an extra print button here on the toolbar because a lot of people when this was collapsed, they're like, well, where do I print? So we actually added a print feature right here as well. So this can still be collapsed and you can still get access to printing. All right, let's jump back into the map. We're going to go over to the large map. So you can see as soon as you come over, you're still on the same parcel. You've got a few more tools here. Most of them are the same. You can print the large map here with this button. You still have your map styles. Yeah, that turns on the blue location dot. Full map, so that'll take you back out to the full county. You can see the little silhouette of the county over here. So if you need to jump back out, that'll quickly take you out to county level. You can search by owner address or parcel ID over here to jump, and you've got these tools. Any parcel you click on, you'll get this. I like to call it the Monopoly card, but it's basically a little informational pop-up. More information on here than was on our former pop-up. You also have links here. So you have hot links for that parcel. So parcel detail, that takes you back to the full detail page where we just came from. You can run the tax estimator here. You can run comp sales here. You can check homestead status, turn on the flood map overlay that I've already showed you. Zoning. So we have a zoning map on here. Now, again, it's kind of like the permits. We take you as far as the jurisdiction will let us go. So we can't maintain all the zoning designations for 24 cities in the unincorporated county, but what we can do is take you as far as they'll let us go. So if it's a larger city, if it's St. Pete, Clearwater, unincorporated, Pinellas, they have robust GIS sites with that data on it. We'll drive you right to the parcel level, and you can check the zoning and the future land use. If it's a small beach community, their map may just be a PDF map, and we'll drive you to that PDF, so you have that. So that's definitely an added feature that did not exist before, and we try to maintain that as best we can. The jurisdictions do move the cheese on us from time to time, so if you do run across a broken link for a map or a permit, let us know, and we'll try to rectify those as quick as possible. Street view. So you have Google Street View now, so you can go down to the street level and look at that parcel. And we have angled aerial views. So these were internal views that were available to us, and we've now made those public facing. So now you have these, and you can spin the view. So you can change the compass point here to basically get 4 different views. There's actually more images. You can click through the images here too. There's actually 57 images of this particular property. You can also go back in time. So you can even see here, here's when Hurricane Irma came. And you can turn that into a PDF from this imagery as well. So a lot of things you can do on the parcel map right there. These are links as well, so that jumps you back to the parcel detail as well. And you always see your most recent transfer of the property here at the top, again, with a link to the OR booking page. This can be detached by clicking that. So you can always, if you don't like if it's docked in a spot you don't prefer it to be, because you might have to move things around, you can always undock it, and then you can slide it around on the parcel, or you can always close it. So lots of cool features, and we plan in phase 2 to actually add even more advanced mapping where you'll be able to extract sales in more detail right out of the map. That'll be a phase 2 project as well. All right, so what else on the map? Oh, I know what I wanted to show you guys. So let's see if I can find one here. Okay, well, I just hit one, but let me try this first. So this one says homestead status right here. When it says homestead status, generally means in those that they have homestead. So you can see, yes, they've had it for the last 3 years on that property. If you hit one that doesn't have it, let me find one with, which might be hard to find around here. Here's one. So it has logic built in that flips it. So they're not a homesteader. They can click that link and start the online application process. So that's a great way if they're a client of yours and you just sold them that property last year and you're clicking around and you hit that and you say, whoa, 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 George and Judy forgot to file for homestead. I need to remind them. So we tried to make that pop out and stand out in a bigger way. If you hit a parcel that is in a corporate ownership, see this one happens to be an LLC, you'll notice it flips to Sunbiz. So now you have the Sunbiz link that will jump you right to that, and it should be the first one on the list. So you have access to that. Yep, I know. Yeah, so we're trying to put a lot of cool little things in there where it just has that logic built in. So you just have to know where to look and just start using it a little bit, and you'll discover these things. So, well, it's, you can do it, well, there's a couple of ways. So if you're in custom report, you have this one right here, aerial parcel map. That's going to create that's going to be a 1-page aerial. Okay. So, well, it'll turn it into one here as it builds it. Here, we'll do one right now. So you're going to get the property detail page plus the aerial with the parcel overlay. So there's your detail, there's your large aerial. And then if you wanted to do it right from the map, you have a print button right here. And this one acts a little bit different. This one turns it into a PDF, but it's using a slightly different function within the website. So you see here, you get the PDF generated right there. So looks the same. And then you can download it, you can print it, you can send it to a client. And obviously, some of these things are going to react a little bit differently depending on how your browser's configured, what other software you have. If you have Adobe Acrobat, if you have Reader, if you don't have Adobe, you have a different PDF tool, it might behave a little bit different. So those are all things. Those are unfortunately part of the growing pains that we all deal with PCs and technology on a daily basis. So if you run into those things, let us know. But we've tried to test on lots of browsers, lots of devices to try and shake down these things so that they will work the majority of the time. But I mean, we've tested extensively with Chrome and Safari, and those have worked really well. We really haven't had any problems there. And when we do run into them, we've made sure to fix those because we know those are going to be the likely ones that get used the bulk of the time. And Internet Explorer is another one that works quite well, or whatever they call it now, Edge.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just looking over my list here to see if there's other things I haven't shown you. Where are we in time? We got about 10 minutes. All right. I think we can jump into a little bit of advanced search so you guys can get a taste of that. So we're going to go back to the home page. Wherever you see the Pinellas County logo, that's a hot link back to the home page. So whenever you click that on any of the pages, whether it's on the map or wherever, we'll jump you back. So we'll go into advanced search. So if anyone's used this in the past, we tried to make this much more user-friendly. It had a bunch of little pick lists all over. It was a little goofy. We kept some of the logic in that you have multiple steps. So step one is think of as your filter. So anything you choose in step one is what you're filtering on. And then step two are the output fields that you want in your download. So we created speed buttons here to group the use codes for the different property types. So, for example, you always have the full use code list. You can go through and customize and pick whatever you want, but we've already smartly grouped them with the speed buttons. So if you want all the residential use codes, boom, they're right there. And then if you go into use code list, you can see how, oh, those are already selected. You can pick multiple if you want. And all these are accordions. The little caret there indicates that. So they're just collapsed right now, so it reduces some of the clutter on the screen, especially if you're on any sort of mobile device. This isn't probably the best feature to try to do on a cell phone. You really want to be on a desktop or a tablet to do this, to be able to really see what's going on. But you can see these are all these filters are grouped. So you have your property characteristics, which is all the physical features generally, then your transactional information, your sale type, sale date, sale price. Then you have owner and location. So this is going to be, your subdivision, your tax district, your zip code, your TIF district, all those types of things. But we also put an owner name field, and this was a request. We've never had this before. So if you have an owner that owns multiple properties, this is a spot where you can put it in and still do a detailed download with just running on that ownership name, and you would get any common parcels that they would hold under the same name. You've got your value information, so you can input ranges if you want to filter on any ranges that we would put in. Here's your exemptions and classifications. We had a question earlier about if you could target homestead or non-homestead. So here you can click this homestead. Now that's going to filter only for homestead properties. So I'm going to show you how, if you want to see non-homestead, how to find those. So this would filter for homestead. So I'm going to turn that back off. So let's do this. So let's turn on residential, turn off retail. So we're back to just residential parcels. Now we're going to move into step 2. It's your output fields, okay? So this is by default is the property summary. Whenever you see these accordions turn dark blue, that means some of the fields inside are selected based on this template. These are basically output templates with the various fields. So think of an Excel spreadsheet with different column headings. When I pick property summary, you can see it's going to include first owner's name. It's going to include second owner's name. It's going to include property address information. But if you wanted to add any of this additional information, you could click these boxes and it will add that to that format. So we created these speed formats that create the most likely fields that most users would want. So here's property mailing address. So this one comes in and grabs mailing address information, and you can obviously customize that as well. These are just these 3 here, or actually all 4 of these are really designed for sale data. So if you want residential sale information, and it does your calculation on a price per square foot, so it adds that field in as well. Here's the same for non-residential. So your commercial sales would benefit from this format. Multifamily, it does a calculation on price per unit. So that's a different calculation, obviously, than price per square foot. And then the same thing here with land sales, where it's actually using the land area and the sale price instead of the building area, because it's land, not building. So those are different templates we set up to try and make that process easier when you want to do those downloads. But let's just do the property summary real quick. And we're going to go into where homestead is. So that is going to be, and I'm going to roll these back up, get them out of the way. So that's going to be in exemptions and classifications, as you might expect. And here's your homestead status, yes or no. So what it's going to do is add another field for homestead. That'll be another column, and you'll get a yes, no next to each parcel that gets downloaded. And then you can filter in Excel on that yes or no. Correct. Mm-hmm. This is just sample data, so it's just showing what it could be. But you can have 50% homestead on a parcel. Say you had a duplex, or say you had two tenants in common, and one's homesteaded and one's not. That's a 50% homestead. If they're not joint tenants with rights of survivorship, then that's a 50-50 split. And that question for those online was, she was asking why this was saying 50%. So that is just sample data there. Normally it would be 100, but that's just an example of how the format of the data would come out, what it might look like. So we can, obviously we're countywide there. So there's 300, this shows you your search results. This always shows you the parameters that you've selected in the filter. This one shows you the output fields. So you can always see what's in that output, those headings, to make sure you have the right data set that you're looking for. If you see something missing, you can come back up here and open one of these others up. For example, had a question yesterday, what about subsidence? So you can come in here under land and other property characteristics, go through the data, here's subsidence, yes or no. So you could turn that on. And that's going to give a yes or no next to each parcel if we have been informed of any subsidence activity on that property. Like it could be sinkhole, could be natural, could be man-made. So we generally request engineering documents for the repair of subsidence. A lot of times it might be a broken pipe. It could, it could be something that that washed out the corner of a house and now it's been repaired. But a lot of times we don't find out that nobody submits anything to us until a sale comes around. So that's usually when they discover it. Then they bring it to us and they say, oh, here's the engineer report that was repaired, because they're trying to, obviously they don't want that to be a black eye on their sale transaction and want to show the new buyer that they've repaired that. And the engineer's report would generally say whether that was a man-made occurrence or whether that was a natural occurrence and could, come back again. So no, it just current. Yes. I would ask some questions. Yes. Yeah, and we probably wouldn't be the ones to ask even. You can ask us what we might have on file for it. However, you certainly want to ask, if it's a seller and the selling broker, you want to ask them, has that been cured? Tell me more about it. Can I see the engineering reports? And then whatever the result of that is, it would be, if it's been cured, please let us know, because then we'll remove that off of the property. Mhm. So she was asking about the new milestone inspection law for condominiums and whether those reports would be reflected in our data. At this point, we're not planning to. That's just a lot for us to have to track. And those condo associations are supposed to put that data online. It's supposed to be made publicly available. So I don't suspect we're going to do that. We are staying in touch with those associations when they report what those special assessments are going to be, and we will be trying to pull those documents, but we don't really want to be that one-stop repository for it because we don't want to take on the liability of saying whether that's completely right or wrong. Each association, they may drop the ball and not post the report. So, everybody, unfortunately, there's a bit of a buyer beware on those, and definitely ask a lot of questions and make sure you're looking not only at those reports, but if those reports don't exist yet, make sure you're looking at the minutes from the board meetings, because there might be a pending assessment coming up that they've been talking about, but hasn't been made formal, but it may be reflected in those minutes. Yes. I really don't know. I mean, basically my understanding is any licensed engineer architect are able to perform those. I don't know if they have to have additional specific credentials, but I don't believe so. I think it was just written licensed architect or engineer. She was asking about if there's a list at the state level. So as far as, yes, there should be a list. I don't know who they're licensed through. I don't know if the DBPR has that list at the state level, like they have that for realtors and they have that for appraisers. You may be able to make that public records request and obtain that list. No. Uh, she 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 was asking if that's a reasonable expectation to have all those reports done in short order. Now they have to the end of 2024. So, but still a 2-year window. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work out there for the architects and engineers. And I'm not sure there's enough of them to get that done timely. So you could easily see this upcoming legislative session that they may extend it, or they may say, oh, the ones that are over a certain amount of stories, they need to be done within the 24-month period. But the ones that are, say, I'm making numbers up, but say they're, you know, they're up to 5 stories, they're of less risk of collapsing than the really tall structures. And maybe give those a little more time. I'm not sure what they're going to come up with, but so they'll have to assess that probably near the end of this year and see how many have actually been done and how many are still out there to be done. We haven't heard about a lot of them that have been completed to this point. We have heard about a few, and some of the special assessments they've come back with are fairly hefty. So we're trying to take those into account in our valuations too, because we do see there certainly can be a recalibration of values within affected condo projects that actually will have to pony up some sizable dollars to cure their properties. I'm not surprised at all. Yes, until they get those reports done and they have a warm fuzzy that that their asset or their collateral is protected. Yes, I can't blame them. Yes, ma'am. Potentially. Yes. Yeah. Right. Right. No. Right. Now, if you're in a very well maintained and managed building and you don't, your reserve requirements are there and you pass the structural inspection and no issues, your value could still be going up, because you could become a desirable building that people want to gravitate to. So we'll just have to see how the market plays out with that. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, folks. We're up against it. Last thing I'll tell you, there is a little website search here box here at the top. So if you can keyword search any topic and find that throughout the website as well. For example, let's just put in fraud. So the search result. So if you wanted to report homestead fraud, you can do that. If deed fraud alert, that's a service that actually takes you over to the clerk site where, you've probably heard some of those stories about deed fraud occurring around the state and around the nation. People file a false deed, then go and try and take out a mortgage on it, or they might try to, if the owners aren't around that property, they've filed that false deed and then they start renting it out to a third party that has no idea that they're not the real owner. There's a lot of different fraud antics that potentially can go on. That service is a free service offered by the clerk. You go on, put in your name, put in your email address, and you'll get an email alert as soon as anything is recorded into public records with a link to the OR booking page so you can check out that document and make sure that it's legitimate or not. So highly recommended. I've used it myself. You even get there's other things that get recorded into official records like, satisfactions of mortgage, notice of commencement. So you'll see all those types of documents flow through there too. So if your name's John Smith, you might get a few more emails than somebody else. I don't get a whole lot, but I will tell you there is another Mike Twitty in this county. He's not related to me, and he does have homesteads. So I'm going to tell you, if you ever hear that I have 2 homesteads, that is not true. He is not me. I've not met the man yet. I haven't had that pleasure, but he lives in on top of the world. But hopefully I'll run into him someday. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time. I know it was kind of fast and furious. We just kind of were bouncing around. I didn't really have a overly formal structure for that. And I hope those online could hear some of the questions. I apologize. Wasn't able to repeat everything back, but hopefully you're able to pick up on most of that. Thank you, guys.